Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Tuesday night. Tonight, we give you the coverage of the Challenger Racing League for their second race of the season. Last season, only 15 drivers were able to make the green, and it came away to be Hunter Carlson taking the victory. Tonight, we go from Richmond to Michigan as the drivers get to test out their skills on a bigger, badder track. It's going to be about pack racing, saving your tires, and ultimately, can you get into victory lane after 100 laps? And we can't wait to give you all the racing action here tonight. Just missed out on qualifying. We're about to head into our grid, but first, we want to say thank you to joining with us. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me up at the booth is going to be Trevor Earhart. Trevor, we're back. More racing action on Tuesday, and we're here at Michigan.
Yeah, go from the short track last week at Richmond to the wide open rolling Irish hills here at Michigan. Sam, kind of a super speedway-esque track, and excited to see what these guys are going to be able to put on for us here tonight.
As the drivers starting to grid up, hey, let's take a look at where they're going to be starting here tonight. We've got a little bit of a bigger field, 19 drivers, and here is your front row. Going to be Christian Schrader, trying to come off of leading the most laps last week, finishing second, but wants the victory here tonight. Going to be joining to his outside in the 17 machine. Want to say thank you to How to Pronounce for giving us the help with this. It is going to be Kevin Zablagle in the 17. Then in row number 2, it's Hunter Carlson, your winner from last week, as well as Andrew Little. Then behind them in row number 3, we're going to find ourselves with the 5 machine in 5th. It's Matthew Hayden, and also going to be James Catrone in the 38. We fall back to row number 4, and that's where we're going to be finding the Colettes. It's Terry Collette and Roland Collette in the 94 in the 10, starting 7th and 8th place, and finishing out our top 10 in 9th position. It's the 6 machine of Rusty Modesty, and also going to be the 84 of John Valesi.
Rolling off 11 and 12th is going to be Stephen Potter and Brandon Beauchamp. Then in 13th and 14th, you're going to have Gregory Bourbonier and Justin Malarkey in the 73. In 15th place, you're going to find the 28 of Jesse Nolan, along with the 27 machine of Marc-Andre Thibodeau starting at 16th. 17th is going to be Stephen Rodchek in the 21. James Fitzmaurice in the 88 is going to start 18th, and Michael Martino is going to round out the 19 drivers here tonight.
I want to say also thank you to ATVO giving us this new graphics package that we're rolling here tonight, as it's their pro version from ATVO that we have to purchase and use. Also, thank you again to the viewers for joining with us. Tonight's race is going to be 100 laps in length. Stage break at the end of lap 35. 1 fast repair, 3 extra sets of tires in pit road. But the one factor that will be changing throughout the season, it's the fuel percentage. Tonight, 50% fuel load. Trevor, that could be influencing these drivers, not just for the length, but also through the corners for these drivers.
Yeah, I mean, with 50% fuel load, I think it's going to put them right on the window of being able to make it to the stage at lap 35, but could be a potential same to see some maybe clutching and coasting around these high bank corners to save a little bit of fuel for these guys, and fuel mileage, depending on how the cautions fall, could come into play and could determine our race winner here tonight.
We saw last week the different skill levels of drivers. The back half of the field, very much some having very big troubles at Richmond. It's a tough track, but from Richmond to Michigan, I know there's a lot of different factors that you're looking for that are very different. The braking aspect, not as important, but Trevor, with the high banks, which parts of this track do you think is going to be the toughest for maybe some of the back half drivers running here tonight?
I think you're going to see issues out of turn 2, turn 4, kind of similar to what we saw with Richmond, but I think the issue they're going to have here isn't going to be the looseness that we saw last week. It's going to be the tightness with this car in the draft, the dirty air. The car tends to push on these drivers, so watch out for drivers getting up into the wall and in turns 2, turn 4, as they try to follow closely and keep in that draft with the cars in front of them.
Well, as the drivers are into 3 and 4, getting ready to go green here tonight again for the Challenge Racing League. These drivers know it's going to be a fun one tonight. The Challenger Racing League, this is their inaugural season, but who will win race number 2? As Christian Schrader as well as Kevin Zablagle take us to the green into the restart zone. And here we go. Green flag out of the air at Michigan. As Schrader going to be sending us down into turn number 1.
Try to see if he drives it deep into turn number 1 to get clear of Zablagle in the 17 machine with no help from 32 behind the 29. A little bit tighter up on the top line, but it's going to be a drag race. Sam, as they exit turn number 2, the top two side by side, but it looks like Zablagel in the 17 a better run off of turn number 2. He's going to hold on to the lead as they enter turn number 3.
Last we got 15 drivers, a few more have entered here tonight. We're interested to see what speed they would bring for us, and we know Christian Strader going to be one of those drivers to watch out for, just based off the iRating, the experience. Again, we're still learning some of these drivers and their tendencies, but lap 1, it's a drag race, and it's going to go to Zablagel in the 17 debut race, and it's going to be a lap 1 lead for the 17 already. Kind of showing out. This 17 could be a factor to watch out for here tonight, but that's only lap number 1. This is when things start to get really fun. Off the exit of turn 2, it's still a drag race for the lead.
Kind of similar to what we saw last week with Strader there, not being able to lead lap 1. Didn't lead the first couple of laps, so then was able to get back up to the front and kind of dominate the opening parts of that race. We'll see if he can do it here again tonight, but right now under pressure from the 68 of Andrew Little, who's looking to the outside. Strader looking to be able to slide up behind the 17 machine, and in front of the 68 is going to be able to slot himself there in a second, halfway down the front stretch. Andrew
Little finishing 5th last week, started 7th, was kind of in the middle of the field for most of last week. Had some moments of kind of being up front and a driver to watch out for on speed. There were some small moments that kind of would issue the 68 from being really a heavy threat up front. Here tonight, though, going to be right on the back bumper of our top 2, or top 3, top 4, trying to space out from one another. But I think from practice, we saw a couple of drivers really struggling, trying to find that limit. And one of those was the driver in 4th place in the 38, James Catrone. Really was struggling there, Trevor, for most of practice, but he's found that race pace and consistency he was looking for running on the inside.
It's the nice thing about having a long practice session like these drivers have, is it gives you a chance to go out, try different things, figure out what you can and can't get away with in the race car. And I think Catrone pushing the limits of what he could do in that 38 machine throughout the course of practice, kind of learned where he can and can't push, and right now looking good for himself in 4th place as he tries to close in on those top 3.
As again, it's a big shout out to ATVO for allowing us to have these graphics, as you're seeing the speed that these drivers are racking up to and the consistent speed that they're holding through the corners with the high G-force that they're dealing with, and also almost climbing up to 200 miles per hour on the front stretch. These drivers are hitting marks that really, you know, it's always shocking to see. It looks, when you're looking at it without seeing the speed that they're going, as Catrone is shipping it down to the inside. It's kind of, it feels like they're not going this fast until you see the speeds they're actually hitting. And Catrone, he's testing the limits already, tried to go for a 3 for 1. Instead, he'll be drag racing his way into turn 3 for 2nd.
I mean, you saw it on the speed there, 199 going into turn 1, had a really good draft there, took the momentum to the inside, but just didn't have quite enough to get by all 3. But it was a heck of a move from Catrone, and now going to have the drafting help from the 17. 2 cars to the bottom, 2 cars to the top, Sam, and this is going to be a 4-way battle for the lead once we get back into turn number 1.
Turn number 1, Jimmy Little puts down one of the fastest laps. I mean, it's seeing Andrew Little, trying to get himself up there, but really it's one of those races that we're going to see, again, ebbs and flows. Who's saving, who's not? Is it better to go full bore and try to gap yourself out as quickly as you can, or do you save your stuff? And can you save your stuff? So many different questions to be thrown out, as here is the battle for 3rd and 4th position, as Little taking that 3rd position back. And for the lead, it's going to be Strader trying once again to the inside underneath the 17.
Just pushing Zablagel down the back straightaway, got the momentum, took it into turn number 3, now to the inside, but and doesn't have that drafting help. I think this is where it's going to hurt some drivers. If you don't have help on that bottom line, especially on corner exit, you could go from battling for the lead to potentially now falling back to 3rd place, as you see Little getting by. There should be enough gap there for Strader to fall up in front of the 38 if he wants it. They're going to like to take the bottom. And kind of opposite of what we normally see. Usually the top line is the freight train line. You go backwards up there, but here tonight at Michigan, Sam, if you don't have draft help, I expect that bottom of the line to be the line that kind of dies off.
Yeah, you're kind of expecting that for sure to be seen. Top 10 drivers all still inside the top 10. They've been kind of shifting around where they're at this moment, but up front, it has been the swamping of pushing back the 29 to see if anyone else can move forward. Some of the other battles inside, as you can see here, it's battling for Rusty Modesty in 7th position, trying to hold back the 84 of John, and different attempts to make passes, but also you're kind of stuck. You have to watch the battles in front of you, as Roland Collette as well as Matt Hayden continue to go back and forth, and Hayden defends for 5th position.
Yeah, watching that battle, trying to figure out where the momentum is that you need to take and what line you want to be in. it's kind of like, you know, being at Daytona and Talladega. It's what line do you think is going to go? Who do you want to work with to try to get up there to the front and kind of stay up here? And right now, Rusty trying to figure that out, where he wants to go with and kind of who he wants to work with as he follows the 10 car here. But the 10, there it is. Sam got a little bit tight off corner, exited turn number 2, got up into the wall. And for Roland Collette, going to lose a lot of momentum in a position here to the 6 of Rusty Modesty.
Modesty's able to make the pass, and for a blink of an eye, we did have a change of guard for the lead position. Andrew Little was able to make the pass through 1 and 2, but it was drafting assistant Zablagel as well as Stratter working together to get the 17 back up front. So kind of shocking. The 29, who was trying so hard to get behind the 17, actually assists the 17 to get up front. And now trying to put defensive blocking moves on that 68.
Yeah, almost a little bit of contact there through the middle of the corner with Little and Zablagel there, but everybody able to hang on to it. And right now you see the lack of momentum from the 29. He's going to give up 3rd position and possibly 4th here to Hayden. But now here goes Andrew Little to the inside. Sam looking for the lead out of turn number 4. Going to try the slide job and not quite clear of that move. And now you're going to have Little and Stratter on the inside line trying to make that work.
Forcing both drivers to slow up, and now it's going to be Catrone in the 38, getting right on the back bumper of the 17, giving a big push. Almost was able to fully clear to dive down low for their own attempt to slide job move, but dive bomb opportunity was not there. Instead, well, the back out, fall in line, and this is now opportunity for Hayden in the 5 machine. Valvoline's going to be trying to duck it down low. Might be seeing some 3 wide. If he gets a big enough run to the inside groove, and will throw it down to that yellow line, but not close enough. And I think the grip levels, as we're 11 laps in, they aren't as strong as they were 5 laps ago. You kind of have to take what you're given, and what we'll try to test out 3 wide for 3rd place.
It's the nice thing here about Michigan. You've got enough room to put these cars kind of wherever you want them. And right now, everybody just kind of jockeying for position up here in the lead pack. You get these runs, you take them, and hopefully somebody goes with you. But yeah, like you said, Sam, the tire wear is starting to kick in. And I think we're going to start to see kind of cars push and drivers having to lift a little bit more than they had been, and this can kind of affect these runs that we're seeing at the front half of the pack.
Some drivers that really backed off from qualifying to where they run currently, and that's going to be Hunter Carlson, all the way back fighting for 11th and 10th position. And watching the battling up front, curious if the 32 is in a huge save mode and might be trying to make the push to go through this pack. But the next gen car, kind of an awkward machine when it comes to the long run. There's moments where if you're extreme saving on tires that you will be rewarded. There's other times where you can give up too much space and you'll never get that time back compared to those that are just gapping themselves from the rest of the field. And it looks like those drivers are being a little bit more aggressive. They are being rewarded up front for now, as Catrone was trying to attempt to go for that lead in 2nd place position, backfires, and now has to defend from Little to the inside.
Catrone got really loose down in 1 and 2. Same thing with the 29 of Stratter there. You saw him got loose in the middle of the corner. That shifts him up to the top of the racetrack and almost into the outside wall. But look at the momentum that it killed for the 38. Here comes the 6 of Rusty Modesty. You got the 10, the 5 there as well, and I believe that's the 84 working into the shot there is John Velasti trying to get up there and make this fight as well.
Velocity is trying their best in the 84 machine and every attempt possible in the green and black. Take an opportunity. Inside row, though, seems again, they stall out at moments. If you get a good run, you try to go for that slide job move, but it can backfire on the 2nd half of the course if you cannot carry your momentum cleanly. And see Stratter, after that slip and slide, falls back to the clutches of the drivers mired in the 7th and 8th position. But a lot of drivers trying to kind of manipulate the draft in their own ways to move forward. And currently it's side drafting for 2nd place. Going to be seeing Catrone holding back Little as they'll stay side by side, and it's enabling this pack to grow bigger and bigger. Now it's your top 9, all within a second of one another.
That's the fun part about Michigan, and kind of it was the same way with Auto Club back when Auto Club was a permanent fixture on the NASCAR circuit. These 2 tracks, a lot of fun to race with in these cars, and you can see here tonight, everybody just on top of one another. Sam racing it out as hard as they can to try to get these positions, not only for that stage break, but stage points, as those might be important later on in the season.
As Jesse and Allen going to be one of the drivers back in 10th position, trying to catch up to Terry Collette as well as Stratter. They're all going to be mixed in between one another at this moment. There have been a few drivers that have lost the front pack, but a little bit of shimmy for the front too, and it gives Little a chance, split through the middle, and the 68 now a new leader up front, but watch out for that inside dive bomb move. His fight is not over, and Zablagle in a blink of an eye, just like the 29, falls back, and they're almost 4 wide battling for that 5th place position. As up front, it's going to be San Catrone, Little, and also Rusty Modesty in the mix, but Little leads that lap.
That was a wiggle there from the 17 and the 38 that kind of checked everybody up. You saw 3 wide as drivers were splitting everybody. Catrone with a big move. He's trying to clear. Little not going to be able to do so. That inside line through 1 and 2 particularly looks a little bit loose on the bottom, but Little gets into the outside wall, Sam, and that's going to check up his momentum. Here we go, 3 wide, potentially behind them for 3rd, 4th, and 5th, but everybody kind of checking up on one another. Here goes the 17 as the black one to the inside, 3 wide for the lead.
It's 3 wide, and the 38 pushing up into the Little, causes Little to have a wiggle, and now going to be the 17. Zablagle to the front, just like that. 1 lap in the lead, but will be fighting for that top position. Little will lead another lap, but into the corner, everyone checking up heavily. And that looked like a very aggressive checkup. I think these drivers might be recognizing fuel could be an issue with how quick everyone checked up before their usual point that they were before.
At 50% fuel is about 10 gallons of gasoline in these race cars, and it goes by pretty quick, Sam, when you're running speeds upwards of 200 miles an hour, even in the draft. So these guys could be realizing, hey, if I want to make it to that stage break at lap 35, I'm going to have to save a little bit of fuel, and maybe checking up a little bit sooner than some drivers realize, or with the runs that they get sooner than they can check up, and that could lead to some potential issues. We'll have to see how that's going to play out as the leaders kind of regroup here and get reset to go back to battle.
17, aggressive side drafting, trying to figure out how to get by the 84 for 2nd place as they head down in turn number 1. We are inching closer and closer to the end of stage number 1. End of stage at the end of lap 35. Top 10 drivers get those bonus points. Could be crucial later on in the season. The playoffs very short for this field. It's less than 10 races before we go into ourselves having a 7-race playoffs where there'll be 12 drivers making the playoffs. Then we'll have a cutoff of 4 drivers to the round of 8 before we have 1 race at Phoenix to see who will be the champion of the first season of the Challenger Racing League. But this is only race number 2. There's still plenty of racing throughout the season, but and these drivers shown us some great shows last week. The over-aggression at moments, some drivers getting into one another a little bit more aggressive than you would want. But here tonight, we're seeing the looseness conditions showing up 20 laps in. And it was Rusty Modesty with the big wiggle out of 2, but it's now the new grouping of 2 drivers up front, Little, Velocity, and also San Catrone in your top 3. And it's the 2 drivers that qualified in the front row, trying to find their way back up front. Of seeing that of Zablagle and Stratter both stuck in going to be 5th and 6th position.
Stratter's been trying to use that inside line to work his way back up there and kind of slowly been doing it all by himself down there, but battle for the lead now as Little and Velocity go to war with one another. Velocity going to be able to clear that 68 machine out of turn number 1, so new race leader down the back straightaway as Velocity does a great job taking that momentum that he had and doing a nice slide job on the 68 machine.
Got to still lead the lap officially, but it's got to be feeling great knowing that the pass worked for now. And off the exit of the corner, 84's just got to make sure he doesn't get into that outside wall, and it's going to be Catrone first to duck down, trying to use that gravity and momentum to push forward. But John Velocity going to be leading a lap for the 84, a new leader officially on the counter. And it's going to be seen once again, everyone ducking and diving to the inside once they have the momentum and run. But confirming the pass has been so hard to make, but a lot more draft assistance look to be to the inside of Catrone, and it's going to allow the 38 for a quick moment to get to the quarter panel, but lost all the help midway through the backstretch. That was not what the 38 was hoping for.
Not what he was hoping for, but he drives it in deep into 3 and 4. Sam trying to get that run, but no, coming to pit road, the 38 of James Catrone. And here comes the pit strategy into all of this, is he and I believe the 5 machine of Matt Hayden coming down pit road. And Sam, here we go, pit stops before the stage break.
Pit stops underway. Catrone, Hayden, as well as Modesty and Nallen going to be hitting pit road. There's a couple of more drivers over the radio that are saying that they are going to be making a pit stop, so watch out for another large grouping to hit pit road. but it's going to be Velocity who's on the inside. And we're also going to be seeing the 17. A couple of drivers over the radio saying they're pitting this time around, and it's a lot of our front runners. They've got to figure out the timing to back off, and it'll just like that, giving each other space. And hard on the brakes, going to be another cluster of 4 as we enter pit road. That's actually going to just be our 3 fastest drivers up front, leaving us with going to be Christian Strader finally in that top position.
Finally gets to get himself a lap led, and this is where you got to be careful getting on and off pit road. Can't speed getting onto pit road, can't slide through your box. The 5 machine, Sam saw him slide through his pit box, so it's going to cost the 5 a lot of time on this pit cycle trying to get back up to speed. Matt Hayden, you can see right there, comes out in that lead pack. Sam going to go a lap down just with that little bit of a mistake that he made.
Drivers are saying they're pitting this time, and see if everyone can woe up in time for themselves, as again, they got to slow down quite a bit, going over 170 miles per hour through the corners, and off exit, they got to slow down to 55 miles per hour. And for the field, all can be praised so far that have pitted. Everyone has been clean with a black flag clearance. No one caught speeding on a pit entry. Only, though, a few drivers deciding to take tires. Shockingly, that's Steve Potter, as well as the 40 machine of Gregory Pelmanier, going to be taking tires for themselves. Also, Andre Thibodeau deciding to take tires. Kind of a shocker, because they only have 3 sets to work with here tonight, and a stage at lap 35. It was expected to be just a stop and go with a little bit of fuel added.
Yeah, a little bit surprised to see that. I mean, we saw it last week at Richmond, but here at Michigan, I mean, tires, they're going to be important, Sam, and I feel like taking those tires this early isn't really going to do you a lot of good. By the time we get to lap 35, I feel like you're going to lose about a 3 to 4 tenths, maybe a lap on those older tires compared to everybody else. But with the draft, it kind of equalizes things out, so we'll have to see with those drivers that took tires how this is going to play out for them pit strategy-wise.
Well, with pit stops concluded and done, it's going to be Kevin Zablagle as well as James Catrone going to be your top 2. Then here's our grouping of drivers for 4th place on back, as Velocity going to be in 3rd, just about over a second ahead of Little Modesty. And as well going to be Nowlin and Justin Malarkey going to be a part of the grouping that's trying to get their way forward if possible, but a little stuck at the moment, as they're about 3 seconds back from our top 2, and just showing staying in pit road a little bit longer, just by a second or more, could be so costly.
I mean, yeah, 3 seconds the gap. I mean, it's just, it could be a factor of getting into your box a little bit slow, taking a little bit more time to refuel, taking those tires. Sam, I mean, you go from a 5 to 8 second pit stop to a 10 to 14 second pit stop, depending on the service that you're getting, and you can see the gap on the racetrack. Pass for the lead, though, as the Blagle got loose out of turn number 2, and there goes Catrone for the lead down the back straightaway. So new leaders, Sam, as they head off into 3 and 4.
Going back and forth, if you get loose, kind of just enable that other driver to take the lead. Don't want to battle side by side for long. They can kill your momentum in this gap that you've built out. You don't want to lose any more ground than you already have, as Andrew Little and also going to be John Velocity. They make their swap on who's going to be the lead driver for 3rd position. But the driver that in the middle of the pit sequence and also found themselves being the leader for the pole here tonight, it's going to be Christian Schreider, who's just watching that 3-wide action in front. That's now singled out into 2 by 1. And at the moment, 29's got to be frustrated. Great qualifying time, but the race just has not been going the way of the 29 so far.
It's the way this race kind of goes. You lose a little bit of track position, and with how hard it is to pass, Sam, it's hard to get that track position back. We've seen him all the way up at the wall. We've seen him all the way down at the yellow line at times trying to make these passes. Just hasn't been able to do so. But right now, with the momentum outside of the 10 of Roland Collette, trying to close into the 28 of Jesse Nolan, there is the 28 of Strader trying to work his way back forward.
Also part of this group again, Justin Malarkey. Malarkey finishing 3rd last week, started 14th at Richmond. Kind of had a growing of trying to find the speed, trying to find some help. Was the 37 on screen, 20. Going to be 73 on our ticker. But that 37 machine trying their best to get moving in the blue and purple. And also you have the 28 of Jesse Nowlett, who for Jesse, qualified in the 15th position. Currently our biggest mover so far is the 28 machine. And also kind of an interesting note, the 28, one of our lowest in iRating skills, entering tonight with a 749 iRating. So proving iRating might be not that high, it may be having some bad luck in official racing, but you're on the league side of things, inside of the top 10 and looking to grab some stage bonus points.
Yeah, I mean, you never know what can happen in official races. We all know that they tend to be interesting, to say the least, and what can happen to you. And not all incidents your fault. And Nolan just up here trying to get a solid top 10 finish here at the stage, Sam, and proving that, hey, just because I don't have a higher I rating doesn't mean I can't be competitive, as you see him fighting with Malarkey. And on Malarkey, Sam, I think you're going to have to talk to him tomorrow and tell him that his number's a little bit backwards on his car here on Tuesdays.
It was backwards last week. I thought maybe he would catch it himself. I think I will have to give him a note on that heading into tomorrow night when we get to give you coverage of the WSSR Cup Series, the start of the playoffs. Don't want to miss it. The starting race, Talladega, for the WSSR Cup Series. Some of the best out there on iRacing, hunting for a championship. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be some great action. But right now, great action is Andrew Little in the 68 machine. I'm trying to confirm if maybe took 2 tires on their stop, and they did, enabling the 68 taking a chance on tires, and it worked fabulously to be able to be up front. But will this hurt in the long run, as Little only has 2 complete sets of tires for the rest of this race?
Yeah, I mean, it's that kind of gap that I was talking about 4/10 quicker than Catrone, Zablagle, and all those guys behind him, and that's the difference in those new tires. But the issue is going to be, Sam, what's he going to do here in 3 laps when they pit for the stage break? Is it going to be fuel only, or is he going to use another set of tires to get to the at the stage break? And if he does, it's going to leave him with 1 full set to get to the end of this race, which I think is just going to be detrimental to him.
Riding on board with Little, and you could just see the strength and stability. This 68 just looks so smooth right now, and this is driving on the current Michigan. There's 2 versions on iRacing. We have the Legacy and the current version, and a drastic difference between the 2. The Legacy older version, very much extremely bumpy course. Here tonight, you can see there, I mean, it's just point where you want the nose to go for Little, and that's exactly where the car's going.
Yeah, you don't have to mess with the bumps. It's kind of like similar to Legacy Daytona. Really bumpy in the corners. You just got to fight the car the whole way around. But the new Michigan, the repave, a whole lot smoother. You can just see him here. Not a whole lot of effort into the wheel. Really smooth on corner exit, keeping his speed up and momentum up, Sam, as he works his way down the back straightaway.
Looking at other drivers that made pit stops on tires, really haven't been able to be rewarded. Those being Steve Potter, also Thibodeau back in 13th and 14th position. They're having their own battle further on back. We kind of have our own clusters. We have the top 9-10 drivers that are racing for stage bonus points and where they can be placed. And then you got the drivers further on back that are kind of racing for top 15s and who can be the best of the rest. And currently, yellow flag will be thrown, as that is the end of the stage, as Little has completed ourselves, coming to actually lap 35 here tonight.
And Little going to get the stage win, and I believe Catrone, Zablagle, Velocity, and Collette going to round out the top 5. Sam, as the drivers going to catch the pace car, catch their breaths, and try to figure out what they're going to do pit strategy-wise, especially for one of those drivers that decided to take tires.
Well, speaking of catching our breath, well, we'll do the same. We will step aside for a quick moment here tonight. That was stage number 1 for race number 2 of the Challenger Racing League, as we are racing here in Michigan International Raceway. It's been a fun race so far. We've seen pack racing. The green-black pit stops shook things up, but we know it's going to be shooken up even more with stage pit stops coming here closely. We'll be right back for more racing action here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Thanks for joining with us. Again, we'll be back right after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Tuesday night. Currently watching the Challenger Racing League, and there was some drama that happened underneath pacing. As currently, it's Andrew Little, Catrone, and also going to be the 84 of John Velocity, going to be your front three currently. Steve Potter going to be moving up to fourth with Brandon Bouchamp in fifth. There's one driver missing, though, who's been up front. That's our red 17. It's going to be Kevin, who is out of this race. He decided to disconnect, and he also was involved in the wreck with James Catrone. It looked like the 17 was trying to make a pass under pit road conditions, and it just did not work out for himself. One driver, though, having slight issues further on back. You can see 3 wide. It was very chaotic for the middle of the field. I think this is where we're going to see a lot of the fun, is the drivers from fourth on back. Who's willing to go 3 wide, who's not? But ultimately, we only have one driver that's out of this race, and that's the 17, who called it quits after a couple of bumps and bruises and being spun on pit road off the nose of the 38. And now we have ourselves Little, even though taking 2 tires under our green flag conditions, still up front, still running strong. A few drivers were able to take tires under this run, that being Catrone, as well as Velocity. Schrader taking 4 tires for themselves, and also going to be Rusty Modesty, Nolan, Hunter Carlson. But up front, it's the drafting help. Choose your partner, which lane will move forward. And right now, it's James Catrone leading the charge on the outside, but Little, even with taking 2 tires on that green flag pit stop, still holding strong somehow. I don't know where this speed for the 68 is coming from, but it is enabling Little to just hold tight. And I think recognizing you need to stay up front as much as possible, as one driver going to be low and slow further on back. Looks to be issues for the 88, excuse me, of James Fick's going to be having his trouble, as Fitzmaurice going to be heading to pit road. Not sure exactly what happened to the 33, but here's a replay of what happened out of turn number 4, now entering pit road, as you can see there for James. But off the exit of turn number 2 onto the backstretch, just pulls off and just slows down. Still not sure exactly what went wrong. There is no signs of issues that we have on our end. There's no required damage. Just decided to pull off to the side, has entered pit road, and still in pit road currently. But getting some tires, fuel, getting back out there on track. Might be calling it a night. We'll see if they take off from pit road. Is James, but up front, it is still going to be James Catrone. Fresh tires, 38. He's having a great run currently. And this is only the 2nd race of the season for this Challenger Racing League. And some of our biggest movers currently, based on some of the pitch strategies, going to be Steve Potter, actually moved up a few spots, but Justin Malarkey is the biggest mover, tied with John Velocity in the 84. They're both up 7 positions, but the battle for 2nd, battle for 3rd, starting to rage on. It's Reese's Pieces that's going to be trying to make a charge forward. That's Christian Schrader, who's trying to make the inside row work at this great moment. Here's some of our biggest movers, though. You can see on our bottom right, it's Justin Malarkey, as well as seeing James Catrone, Jesse Howell, as well as Rusty Modesty. And you can see those levels are going to be changing with every pass that happens. Some drivers having an advantage, some not having the advantage. But it's James Catrone who's loving it being up front. Here's our weather conditions for tonight. Now we are closing into halfway here this evening, but these are perfect conditions on track, with the ambient temperature being 71 degrees, track temp 83, but it's the wind. It is going a dead southwest, 14 miles per hour of wind, and also they're seeing 92% of humidity. And if you were with us last night for the ISRC Truck Series, their humidity was at 100%. Couldn't see much, and that's where that little bit of hue is starting to show up here this evening. Is seeing that little bit of dust that it feels like is that humidity, slight fog that's in between where our cameras are to where the vehicles run at this time. As seeing James Catrone strongly again up front, feeling good with where he's at this time. But Trevor, good to have you back. Current updates, we have lost 2 drivers under pacing. Kevin in the 17 got spun off the nose of the 38 of Catrone as the 17 was trying to make a pass while pitting, and didn't work out, spit out the 17. When they got back to rolling, 17 just called it quits, called it a night. And also, once we went green, 88 of James Fitzmaurice decided to pull off the track. He's also called it a night, so we're left with just 17 drivers on course.
Step away for a quick second. I miss all the fun stuff, Sam. Unfortunate there for Kevin to see one of the quicker cars out there tonight. I was looking forward to seeing him battle up there with Catrone in the 29 of Stratter, and then unfortunate for Fitzmaurice as well, making his first start of the season. Not going to be able to get the finish I'm sure he wanted, but hopefully we'll see those guys back next week at Daytona. Sam, is you were talking about the humidity. I tuned into that race last night for the Truck Series guys, and kind of hard to see those trucks out there in the fog, and they put on a heck of a show with the conditions that they were given. But speaking of a show, here we go, zigzagging down the back straightaway, trying to break that draft.
First time getting to see what we call snaking when you're trying to break the draft on the back stretch, sometimes on the front stretch. And our top 5 giving us a great show currently. Top 4, excuse me. Here's where 5th place runs at the moment. Hunter Carlson, winner from last week, trying to defend back Justin Malarkey, as well as Roland Collette and Nolan, and having Andrew Little. And Little did a pretty good job for the first 3 to 4 laps, not taking tires at the stage break pit stop, deciding to just take fuel. Defended pretty well, but now starting to feel that weakness of the tires this long into a run. I think we're going to be seeing that big swing here for a lot of those drivers that were trying to maybe win in the long run, of an advantage of taking tires under our stage break. I mean, our stage compared to the stage break. And now we're seeing those that waited, they're being rewarded up front with fresh rubber and clean air.
Yeah, fresh rubber starting to show its strength. The question is going to be, when are these guys going to make that next pit stop? Sam, they went about 22, 23 laps there in the opening stint. Can they go a little bit longer? And right now, drivers out there have been out there for about 14 laps. So anywhere from the next 8 laps to 10 laps, I would expect to maybe starting to see some pit stops as a battle for the lead brewing up as they go into turn number 3.
And battling for the lead, it's going to be Stratter. He wants to get back in that top spot. Have not seen the dominance that we saw back at Richmond at moments where the 29 would take the lead and just pull away. But it's going to be James Catrone, still able to defend on the outside, showing the strength of that outside groove. 29 moves up, trying to utilize a little bit of side drafting into the corner. And they will stay dead even at the apex of 1 and 2 as they rocket their way off the exit of the corner. I'm watching out for that green and black 84 behind these drivers. Obviously, we know that John Velocity going to be a driver that has been up front at moments, but this is his chance to take that lead. He saw the battling, the side drafting, now using his own momentum to try to go for the lead, but not able to fully clear. They'll stay side by side, and Alex is pulling in the rest of the field.
That's going to bring the rest of the field with him. You see Velocity all the way down to the apron, no draft help, but the 29 also not close enough to Catrone to really help him out, as they're going to continue this battle for the lead down into 1, almost close to touching doors there through the middle of turn number 1, turn number 2 though. But this is where the field's going to come into play, Sam, is that's going to check up a little bit of the momentum, and here comes everybody else trying to close in as we're on board with the 6 machine of Rusty Modesty. You can just see the momentum that he has compared to the 84 as they work their way into turn number 3.
Modesty was just shipping it on the outside, also behind the 6 machine. They were getting a little bit frisky as Roland going to be Collette. Not happy with the 73 on our ticker, 37 on their machine of Justin Malarkey, but they'll work as tandem on the outside of this 6 as we're seeing Modesty at moments actually was one of the fastest drivers on track when we looked at true speed of someone getting their fastest lap, but it's those little wiggles and moments. You saw there the shimmy. It's getting loose, and we're in that part of the race where we were seeing drivers get looser and looser, and these moments of out of controlness start to blossom up.
Yeah, it's that point where the tires are really starting to wear, and you try to hold it down there on the bottom, hold it as wide open as you can to keep your momentum going. You see it start to just kind of get a little bit loose on these drivers, starts to become a handful. And for Rusty, at least had a little bit of draft help behind him that didn't cause him to lose a ton of time, but those little bit of wiggles, Sam, can cost you 1, 2, maybe up to 4 positions, just depending on how close this pack is on one another. You see Rusty going from battling from 5th all the way back to now back here 7th, 8th, and 9th.
as the field continues to race on. Again, thank you for joining with us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. If you're enjoying the show, remember to hit that like button, and also remember to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification after subscribing to be notified when we go live. We are going to be giving you 4 races a week. We've got Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and ourselves Wednesday. Overall, it's been a pleasure to have all races that we get to cover here from Monday through Thursday, and seeing all the different leagues. We have the truck series on Monday, then all the next gen racing through Tuesday through Thursday, open setup racing on Thursday with the Doghouse Racing Series. And Doghouse is going to be having their debut race for the season 2 as they're back to full song. First official points race this Thursday at Indianapolis. We've already talked about WSSR having their playoffs on Wednesday, and also on Monday, when we roll around this next Monday, they're going to be heading to road course racing at Road at America for themselves. Exciting overall racing throughout the field, as currently you can see on our ticker, getting to see Hunter Carlson, driver that won last week, currently in 6th place, trying to make that inside road work, but it is really not helping him. It's kind of just staying stuck, and oh my goodness, it wasn't clear. And the 32 and the 6 get tangled up off the exit 2.
And just like that, you go from battling for 6, Sam,
oh my
to
goodness.
There was a car, I think, that just shot the gap at full song, and that could have been
did not stop. That man trusted everything was going to open up.
That could have been disastrous. Could have gone from just some a stint on pit road, not having to use your fast repair, to having a totaled race car and having to use your fast repair. So I'm sure Carlson can take a deep breath now and come down and get that car repaired. But Sam, you run out of room real quick when you're battling with somebody side by side.
Oh man, that just looked so much worse than it should have. But gonna be trying to take a look at potentially one of these replays, as I think this is a little bit far back for the replays. And Trevor kind of saw it last. We've seen it a couple of times in the series that we cover, of when you're expecting there to be a hole to pop up and it's just not there. You're expecting there to be a hole, maybe you assume there's gonna be one, and then someone checks up and that hole just disappears immediately. Or I think for here, we're gonna see Hunter maybe expected to lose a little bit more ground and fall behind the 6, but that was not the case.
Yeah, I think Carlson just expected there to be a gap up there, Sam, between the 6 and the 10. I believe it was the 10 of Colette in front of him, and just the gap wasn't there. Rusty had enough momentum, and it never really was open. Just a misjudgment there from the 32 ends up with him spun across the nose of Rusty Carlson, or Rusty Modesty.
Now this looks a lot worse because you have one driver just sitting there and one going over 150 miles per hour. But seeing that I believe it was Rotcheck that was going through, that driver, the 21, was one that kind of blitzed by. Currently in 14, you can see here, just seeing an incident, not sure where to go. You know what, we're going this way.
That's a little bit closer than I think a lot of drivers would like, but made it through, no harm, no foul. But I think might be a little bit of maybe a message from some drivers going, hey, next time let's check it up just a little bit. But again, no harm, no foul, and pit stops, Sam, being made from our race leaders.
Yeah, majority of drivers going to be taking 4 tires and fuel. It's kind of going to be a reset. Most of the field now from this point on will only have 1 set of tires to work with. And from this moment on, we're expected just to have 1 more pit stop before the night is over. So everyone's kind of strategizing on what was going to be their best options. Those that pitted in the middle of the stage, I think this caution really helps them all out. This resets the field, puts everyone back on equal footing. Now it's, when do you want to take that final set of tires before this race is over?
That's going to be the question. We're going to get here to lap 60. Based off of what they did before the stage break, going 22, 24 laps, they're going to want to get to at least lap 80 before they make that final pit stop. But the question is going to be, when you make that pit stop, Sam, is it going to be 2 tires? We saw how well that worked out for the 68 of Andrew Little. Or do you take all 4 tires to go to the end? That's going to be the real question for these guys.
Or will the last caution, or will we have a caution that kind of resets how tonight's race could go later on? I also want to give a shout out to James Wright, who's being race control. He deemed Hunter Carlson at fault And Yoel has been given to the 32, so he will start at the end of the line for this next restart. Also for us, I think we're going to test out. I'm going to see if our producer has, if we can do a crank it up. I know we had a little bit of technical issues, but I think we're going to do a crank it up for this next restart, Trevor. Kind of get a sense of what the cars sound like on a restart, especially with 40 laps to go here tonight. But before we go into that crank it up, what are your feelings so far for the drivers that are maybe in the middle of the field, knowing that everyone's on the same set and you have to go forward from this point to set yourself up before those pit stops later on?
I think we're going to see the guys in the middle of the field that's kind of been just riding around now is where they're going to get into the battling. 40 laps to go. We've seen kind of how hard it is to get passes done. Now is the time for them to be aggressive, Sam, get their way to the front to set themselves up for a potential win.
It's time to set up, get prepared. It's going to be some great racing action from here on out. I think we're going to see everything ramp up on the intensity scale. Drivers know it's about to be go time. It is 40 laps to go. One more pit stop to make it to the end of this race and to make sure that you have a chance to win here at Michigan. Who's going to be crowned a winner here tonight? Can we see our first two-time winner with Hunter Carlson fighting through the field? Or will someone else join the win column? Into the restart zone. Let's find out as we crank it up with these engines roaring down to turn number 1. And those are the roars here at Michigan as the drivers continue to ramp every lap down at full song. Currently, your leader going to be James Patrone. John Velocity going to be in second place. Christian Stratter going to be in third with Justin Malarkey fourth. Fifth is Roland Collette. And driver that was sent to the end of the line after being involved in that wrecking, what they deemed for causing it. Hunter Carlson, winner from last week, is still pretty far back, only able to move up to 15th position. Now, looking at the field, a lot of these drivers still have their fast repair to work with. Then, Trevor, I'm curious, Michigan, you know, not a track that you traditionally see someone do a bump and run. We have seen drivers sometimes use each other up with a little bit of siding into one another, a little bit of door banging in the middle of the corner. Sometimes on the straightaway, you try to slow someone down. If you know you have a fast repair in your back pocket, do you maybe ramp up some of that aggression of using up your car into somebody? On top of that, we also have an incident point limit for a black flag being 20 incident points. I don't think anyone's really that close. You could get a little bit rough if you wanted to.
I mean, you could. I don't know if it's the smart thing to do, Sam, especially with the tracks coming up. If you make somebody mad here next week at Daytona when you really need draft help, if you make a couple of people mad, you might be kind of finding yourself out to dry, but we'll have to wait and see. I mean, a win's a win. It locks you in. So who knows? People might not be afraid to use that bumper or the side draft and beating and banging on one another to get a win here as Catrone goes back to the lead.
Catrone's back to the lead, and now we're going to be seeing our first time entering the top 3. We've seen the glimpses of Justin Malarkey there, and now going to be seeing Roland Collette having a chance in the 10 machine. Colette's been just outside of our top 3 for most of the night. But I think the driver that I've got really circled up waiting for the surge, it's got to be Andrew Little in the 68. Andrew's been looking fast, especially on the longer run. We'll see how that 68 wants the pounces to go forward. As you can see the fighting differences between these drivers, everyone's about 1 to 2 tenths off of one another when it looks at that gap, but it's Rusty Modesty trying to give a push if possible to Little on the outside row.
I try to give a little bit of help there to that outside row and see if they can close that gap a little bit. But as these drivers battle, Sam is going to allow the gaps to close and drivers to stay on top of one another. And I think right now, a little bit of patience, a little bit more patience than what I kind of thought we would see on that restart. But drivers trying to figure out the runs, and here goes the 73 of Malarkey to the inside of the 29, trying to get that second place position. As you kind of take these runs as they come into you, Sam, and try to get these spots.
And also going to be the talking point of pit stops. How are pit stops going to be changing for this field? We kind of already touched a little bit on tires. Some drivers might think about taking 2 based on what the speed we saw from Andrew Little there. We also might be seeing drivers go with 4, but if you only take 2 tires, the thought of how much fuel do you want to put in, because these drivers, if they push their fuel, their tires as long as they can before they make their green flag pit stops, which is going to be probably in the next 10 to next 13 laps, you got to be thinking the calculations. Do I pit sooner and take less fuel, or do I pit later and take maybe less fuel? Then you got to make those hard choices of what the fuel mileage numbers are looking like, because I know some drivers, that's their funnest thing to look at, is what data can we kind of tweak with to gain those small little advantages.
And not a lot of adjustments the drivers can really make in these cars with these fixed setups. You can change the steering pinion on these things to kind of fit your driving style. You can change the brake bias around, but in terms of saving fuel, it all comes down to the driver, and what you do on track is going to determine your fuel mileage and how these guys decide to play it. Sam, is going to be interesting. Do you pit early, get those fresh tires like you were talking about, or do you stay out late, maybe thinking there's going to be a late race caution so you can have fresher tires later in the race? And that's where this thing's going to get really interesting if this thing runs green to the end.
Running green to the end. This is our front pack that we've kind of been keeping most of our eyes on. It's been James Collette, it's been Strider, it's been Malarkey. You can also see this is our second pack. And in that Ryan Newman scheme that just bounced the outside wall, it's Steven Rockek, who's going to be the driver that gave us a scare when we saw the initial spin of our last wreck. But the 21 in a Rocket Man machine trying to find his way, pulling this group along in that 10th place position.
Gets back up to the guys in front of him. He's got about a 2-second gap, though, from himself to Terry Collette in that little group, Sam. So they're going to have to kind of work together to get caught up to the guys in front of them.
Well, this has been a group that's been around one another for most of the night. I think back to the way the stage was racing before they had green flag pit stops. It was, you had the front 10, and then you had this pocket of about 5 drivers that were racing around one another. We've got Steven in the 21, we got Terry Collette, we also got Jamie Cannewell, and also Steve Potter that have been just racing around one another and keeping it close. This is actually this group going from 10th all the way back to 14th position. And then there's a couple of other drivers further on back that have been having their own solo races. Brandon Bowchamp in 15th, Michael Martino in 16th, as well as Hunter Carlson, he's having some major issues for the 32. He's just not a factor anymore after being up front. I think maybe it was a little bit of the tires advantage that kept him up front, but he's been looking like he's struggling. But the second pack, they've got a lot of work, almost 2 seconds back in the way that they're racing to get with one another. It's just hurting them on pace.
Yeah, you're just killing each other's momentum, not really allowing you to catch up to the guys in front of them that are kind of running in the back and kind of using their drift to pull away in this almost 3-wide battle. But there's a little bit of contact. Everybody keeps it straight, but there's contact between the 64 of Potter and I believe the 28 machine of Nolan, or I'm sorry, the 40 there machine of Gregory that made a little bit of contact, saying that almost brought out a caution.
Yeah, both drivers immediately over the radio saying, "I'm sorry," and others saying, "You're all good." as they continue to race on. Also, Thibodeau getting into the outside wall for the 27. But up front, back to side-by-side racing and swapping back and forth of Catrone, Strider, as well as Malarkey. Malarkey's kind of trying to defend both lanes as he's the only driver that's not side-by-side inside of our top 7, and continues to run that middle groove, come up, defend the outside lane, and because he doesn't have anyone who is inside or outside, it's enabled him to have the run to try to pass for this second place position as Catrone stays high and enables other drivers to take opportunities, but Strider finally clear and able to try to pull away from the 3 wide action behind him.
Yeah, he's going to have a little bit of a time to run away from this as these guys battling 3 wide, almost 4 wide. Catrone comes all the way down to the bottom line to throw a block there, and now back to the top, but 3 wide for third on back there as now they start to sort it out. But this is where it's getting racy, Sam, as we're closing in on this final pit stop. The 84 a little bit loose off the corner exit, and that's going to cost him. He's going to go back into this whole pack.
Yeah, and pit stop window will open up in the next 4 laps. That's when drivers, if they want to stretch their fuel out as long as possible, that will be your first pit stop opportunity. Other drivers, though, they might want to push their fuel out a little bit longer than that, which would be around lap 82 to 84. That will be the window if drivers have been saving fuel, can push their fuel out and have a little bit more comfort of if we go into overtime, they've got the fuel to stretch it out that long. But at this moment, Trevor, I mean, this front group, they continue to duke it back and forth, but they still have time before that pit stop. It's putting yourself in a better situation, but I think it really will come down to how clean of a pit stall can you have.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to how you execute that pit entry, pit exit, and your pit stop as a whole. As you see the 94 dive into the inside of Little there, and it's going to be Terry Collette trying to get to the inside. Just got a little bit tight, almost got up into the side of the 68, and now he's going to drop back to the end of this pack. But Sam, I mean, we've talked about it before when we've been broadcasting together, how important these pit stops are, and we've seen mistakes be made there, cross drivers, wins, and potential top 5 finishes. And so when these guys make that pit stop, it's all going to be about that execution.
Yeah, and I think for Andrew Little, when he's thinking about this pit stop again, as more drivers continue to bounce off that wall at the exit of turn 2, it was Justin Malarkey that go around. I'm curious for Andrew Little if maybe he got a little bit deceived on the fact that he took 2 tires, while a couple of other drivers, they got the information of what 4 tires would feel like coming in, getting that service key back out there. Majority of the field has only done a green flag pit stop for no fuel. This is going to be an interesting point of are you prepared with the amount of time you're going to lose, or who's going to be gutsy enough to go for 2 tires? But you talked about humidity. It was extremely high. We saw it there. The fog, I think, is starting to creep in more and more each lap here, Trevor.
I mean, hey, they had rain in the, rain in the real life race. Potential, maybe some storms blowing in. Sam, fog starting to roll in, and with that, going to bring a little bit of change to the racetrack potentially for these guys. The wind's still blowing at about 14 miles an hour. But here comes the 68 of Andrew Little. Sam, first car down pit road for his potential final pit stop on lap 78.
Andrew Little, what type of a strategy call do you have in mind? I think this is a lap 2 early for my liking, but hey, might be the best call of the night if you can get a clean pit entry, clean takeoff. What speeds are we going to find on the difference? Because the pack out on track, they're running about 8/10 slower than what they would be running compared to their fastest laps. So there's still chances for this race to ebb and flow, but this is going to be a tough decision to make on when you want to come in pit road, because the fuel, the tires, the time, I think it's really going to be an advantage for those that take 4 tires and fuel. But Little takes only 2 tires. He's sticking with that strategy, as now we see the 5 of Matt Hayden now entering pit road.
It worked for him the first time. We'll see if it works out for him this time. I believe he's going to go a lap down here, Sam, as he comes out off the pit road with the leaders right there on the back straightaway. Matt Hayden, last time on pit road under green flag conditions, slid into the inside wall. This time, much cleaner entry into his box, and we'll see if he goes for the 2 tires or if he's going to go with 4. As you see the right side of the car get jacked up, left side of the car goes up in the air. 4 tires in fuel for the 5 machine, so already seeing a difference in strategy.
Also, Gregory Bauman here and Malchamp decided to enter pit road with Hayden and Jesse Nolan could be getting out on track, but a little bit of extensive time for Matt Hayden, and that's not a good sign because it's a black flag for the 5 machine. That's why he sits for longer. It's a 40-second hold if you get a black flag for speeding into pit road. And for the 5, If he doesn't get a caution, last place is calling for himself. But up front, still going to be Shrouder. It's going to be Roland Collette, as well as seeing James Catrone. And I talked about it. The fog, it's rolling in more. It's giving me bad visions of last night with the way that the ISRC Truck Series ended. Visibility is getting worse and worse through the corners.
I mean, and that could lead to some inadvertent contact as you lose a little bit of visibility in your car and some spatial awareness, Sam. So this could make things very interesting for these drivers as this race progresses. And we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. As right now, Stratter leads over the 10 of Roland Collette, but Collette all over the rear bumper, and there's a little bit of a gap to the 38 of Catrone and Rusty Modesty there in the 6 machine. So we'll see what's going to happen. As I believe the 29 car coming down pit road, as here comes our race leader, followed by the 38, the 6, and I believe the 84.
Oh, a couple of drivers testing the grass. Thanks for mowing the lawn, but trouble for trying to slow down if possible. But for now, everyone is clear, even with touching the grass. They didn't hit the cone, which is the most important thing. Even with the big spills of right there. I mean, with the mistakes we talked about, you gotta have to minimize them. Andrew Little is going to be the driver you are chasing down, and Little will pass these drivers. The question is, with that mistake, or maybe it was a reward for being aggressive on the pit entry, can you run down that 68 machine? Because 4 tires and fuel is the call for majority of the drivers that just exited pit road now.
I saw 4 tires and fuel for our what was our race leader in the 29 machine. I believe 4 tires and fuel for Rusty and as well Catrone, but 2 tires only for the 84 Velocity, Sam, as he was able to beat those drivers off of pit road. And so now he's going to be on the same strategy as the 68 of Andrew Little.
Oh, trouble for the 27. Mark Andre going to be Thibodeau, because he will be hit with a black flag on speeding on pit entry. Struggle strikes for 2 drivers, Matt Hayden and now Thibodeau. They're both going to be having to sit and go to the end of the line as the rest of the field continues the race on this pit strategy. What a call from everyone out on track, and now it's a race to the end. Who's got the speed to run down Andrew Little? Because the 2-tire call, he had a 1 second faster pit stop than even the 84, and it's rewarded him to now a 2-second lead over John Velocity. But will Stratter have time to run him down? It is a over 3.3 second gap between first and second.
That's going to be the fun part. 2 tires versus 4 tires. And in this next-gen car, it's not as detrimental as you think. The left sides really don't get eaten up, especially at these big, 1.5-mile, 2-mile racetracks. Those left sides don't get a lot of wear, so you can get away with these 2-tire calls. So we'll see if Andrew Little can replicate what he was able to pull off there in the stage and pull this thing into victory lane here tonight.
See some of the drivers on their advantages throughout the night. Biggest movers of the night going to be Velocity and Malarkey, both tied at 8 positions up from where they qualified. And you can see some of the other drivers. Jesse Nowland up 6-4 for Roland Collette, and then Modesty up 4 positions. A couple of drivers have lost big on their positionings. Really, it's Matt Hayden. That black flag still 1 lap down. It will need a caution to get back onto the lead. But here's your second place runner. 2 seconds difference, but it's third place that's running them down. It is still going to be quite a distance to run down. Little, but Stratter, he's 2.5 seconds now back. But oh boy, a little bit of a drift into the wall. The 29 threw it all the advantage away.
Yeah, it's not what you want to see there, getting into that outside wall, not only killing his momentum, but potentially maybe some toe link damage to the right front, maybe a little bit of damage to the bodywork. These cars are a lot tougher than they look, Sam, so you can get away with a little bit of wall contact, but the front suspension is really sensitive on these cars, so we're going to have to wait and see if Christian there got a little bit more damage than maybe he wanted getting up into that outside wall.
Just by that 1 contact, losing over 4/10 to Little, and all that advantage that we thought we were going to see has just been taken away in a blink of an eye. And this was going to be a fabulous rundown, and instead it could be just a step away for Little. Looking at the gap difference, the last laps being ran, Velocity in the 84 is slowly catching up to Little, but with each lap that ticks away, the gap just seems too large to gain for that 84. What we need to see from Velocity is run down, get within a second, get that draft help, and the 84 will have a better chance to go for the lead. But at this current moment, it looks to be for Little. The gap's just big enough.
It looks like he might be able to hang on and hold off the 84 machine, but we'll wait and see. Looking at the lap times, John Velocity in the 84 a little bit quicker, about 2/10 quicker than the 68 the last lap, and then Stratter a little bit faster than both of them. So closing in the gap, Sam, but the problem is 2/10, about 1.8 seconds back. He's running out of laps to get to the back bumper of the 68 machine.
I'm looking at the lap times being placed. I mean, it just looks like it's too large of a gap, but Stratter's lap times, I mean, we're coming up to going to be 2 laps before it's 10 to go. If you can somehow cut this difference to 2 seconds, the 29 might have a chance. But for Velocity, he stayed stable. The lap times have not really given the signs the 84's got a chance, but the draft is helping Stratter. And if we can see the help and advantage of working as a group, these 2 drivers could utilize the draft to run down Little.
That's gonna be the question. If it's not a question of if, it's when Stratter gets to the back of the 84 machine, what are they going to elect to do? Will they work together? Will they battle it out for second? Because that can make all the difference of them running down Andrew Little in the 68. And for Little, I mean, Sam, how hard did he go to build this gap? Did he maybe use up those tires a little bit more? Will they fall off toward the end of this? And the bigger question is he going to have enough gas to get to the end of this race as well? He pitted a little bit earlier than we maybe thought he should, so that could be another question before we get to the end of this race.
I mean, the previous lap to this one's being put down. Stratter put down the fastest lap of the night, a 38.641. The other driver that was the closest to that was Jesse Nolan, but that was a long time ago. Another fastest lap of the night, and the gap is down to 1.5 seconds. This race isn't over. It is 10 laps to go, and Christian Stratter looking for redemption after missing out on the win at Richmond last week. Now going for the pass for second place. It's been made, and now it's the rundown. 1.2 seconds is going to be the difference between first and second. Stratter has the time, but will the tires hold up for the next 10 to now 9 laps to go?
4 tires versus 2 tires. He's got one of the 2 tire runners. Now he's going to just track down Andrew Little. No pressure from out back. It looks like Velocity just not able to have the corner speed that the 29 has as he pulls away down the back straightaway, Sam, and here we go. The chase down begins. We come into lap 93 of 100, and the 29 machine trying to march forward and close that 1.2 second gap.
It's down to 1.2, but this is when things are going to stall out. You had all that assistance because of the draft pulling you along, and now for Stratter needs to get more draft help. If you're Andrew Little, you got to be praying that the draft doesn't kick in anytime soon, but it's almost down to that 1 second when the draft just pulls you along, and it gets stronger and stronger as closer as you get. Now going to be 9 laps to go. Now make it 8 for this field, and Stratter is hit that 1 second marker. It's doable. It's just now down to Little. What defensive moves can you make in these final 3 laps? Because that's when we're going to be seeing the 29 right on the back bumper.
Yeah, he's going to catch him, but catching him is one thing, passing him is another, Sam. That's the old adage we've always heard. And if Velocity can kind of stick to the back bumper of this 29 machine, if him and the 68 get to battle and don't count out John Velocity in the 84 with how powerful the side draft is and momentum is here, Sam, he might still be in play for this if he can stay within about a half a second of this 29 machine.
How is Velocity going to be the factor for this race, or is it all down to our top 2 currently? Now up to 7 laps to go. Going to be 6 when they cross the line. It's down to less than a half a second between first and second place. This is now doable. This was the question. Was 4 tires the call, or was it 2 tires? And Trevor, this was the question I was throwing out. Andrew Little saw the strength during the stage, but that was because everyone else didn't take tires. They all took 4 over 2. And maybe Little took a little bit too much of a bite here, expecting the 2 tires to be stronger than they truly were.
Yeah, I think maybe just got a little bit of false hope there, and the 2 tires are going to be able to work as well as they did. But here we go, Sam. Here's the 29 machine. He's going to dive it to the inside here in 3 and 4. Will the 68 of Little have anything to do? He's going to try to pinch him down to the yellow line, and this could work out for him. But here comes the 84 machine as they're going to be side by side for the lead out of turn number 4.
They push high. They're going to be drag racing their way forward. Now Velocity going to go high. Another block for Little. Little wasn't able to defend the 29 going into that last corner, but will have spacing to duck down to that yellow line. Little has to hold back both runs. You have to defend the cornering by Strider on the inside. Velocity's going to have to run on the outside groove. You got to block low and then move high quickly, and that's exactly what Little's going to be doing here for the next 5 laps. Now 4.5. Velocity, who enables Strider to kind of be the horse pulling the carriage. Now the 84 is going to be having the chance on the outside.
Don't look too far behind these guys. If they battle too much longer, Sam, the 10 of Colette coming with another group. Almost contact made out of turn number 4. And here goes the drafting help on the front straightaway. But Colette, Rusty Modesty, James Catrone, they're all close. Or I'm sorry, Colette and Modesty closing in, Sam, as these guys continue to battle with 4 laps to go.
Colette really, like we said, has just been there. Same for Modesty. They have been just the lingering wait for their moment to strike drivers. It's been these top 3, as well as you could say Catrone earlier on this race, were the 4 that were willing to duke it back and forth late in runs. And now it's going to be 4 laps to go. Now 3.5 down into turn number 3. Strider tries again, gets right on the yellow line. The dive bomb move works. So does the slide job, but all the momentum will be lost, or will it? The 29 kept the speed, held the throttle, but here comes this, gonna be the bump draft to the inside. Little with another slide job and diving move.
I mean, what a move by Strider, all the way down to the yellow line, all the way up the racetrack, and here going to try to make it work again. The 68 loose on the bottom. Oh, he overcorrects.
They wreck, and the second pack comes rolling in, and that's the caution that will send us to overtime.
Oh, unfortunate for the 68 of Andrew Little, the 84 of John Velocity, as those two make heavy contact with one another. And it was just that a little bit of a wiggle. Little trying to get everything he could on those 2 tires, and the tires just finally gave in. And Sam, calamity strikes for the 2nd and 3rd place driver.
Here's the replay, here's the moves, and what a chance by Little, going down into the corner, trying to hold steady, but then just snapping loose at the apex and tried to chase that machine high. And there's the snapping loose action, tries to correct it, overcorrects right into Velocity. And that is the caution that will send us into overtime. Ladies and gentlemen, we have overtime here this evening. We have 2 attempts if needed, but this first one and the next 2, they're going to be tricky, because now we're into that weird demographic, Trevor, where we have no tires. If you're coming in, it's only 4 repairs on your vehicle. And who's got the freshest tires is going to be the biggest question. That goes to Roland Collette, who had a 1-lap advantage over Strouder in the rest of the field.
Collette going to restart there in second. We'll see. I don't expect to see anybody coming down pit road, Sam. They should be good on fuel. We'll wait and see. Here comes the drivers past the start or pit road entry, and it's going to be the 84 and the 68 coming down to get their cars repaired. Everybody else staying on the racetrack. And Sam, it's going to get interesting now. Fog really starting to roll in, visibility going down, but now instead of being a 3-car breakaway, now the whole pack is going to be grouped back up on top of one another.
As you can see here, like real life fog, and when you're close up, you can see the vehicles. When it's from afar, the fog, you can see the humidity, it kind of makes things a little harder to see from distance. So some of the farther cameras that we have that kind of gives us those wide shots, kind of struggling at this moment, but again, we're going to try our best. If you want to see what pure chaos looks like, though, you can check out the end of last night's race. You think visibility is bad now? We could only see the outlines of the trucks and then the wheels themselves and the windows. We could not see the schemes with how thick the fog was last night. Luckily here tonight, only 92% humidity compared to 100% that we had last night.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch last night's race, but I'm gonna have to go back and see that. From what you were telling me pre-race, it was pretty entertaining, especially with the fog and kind of the way they ran that from a night to a morning race, kind of opposite of what you see. Usually it's afternoon to night, but one, Sam, that I'm gonna have to go check out just to see the chaos that you guys were having to deal with up in the booth.
They had to use all 3 overtime attempts, and it was a blast to cover, even with the chaos. There were a couple strategy calls that I think a lot of people were pulling their hairs for, of why did you make that call, but ultimately a great race at Iowa for the Iowa Sunrise 170. You can check it out here after tonight's race on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. It was myself and Zach Hall on the call as we get prepared. This is overtime that we are entering, waiting for the pace car lights to go off. But if this is your first time ever being on iRacing or watching an iRacing race that goes into overtime, the rules are very simple. The way that we go is it is going to be a 2-lap shootout. It is a green, white, checkered. If once we go green, if we get a yellow flag, a quick caution on this first lap before we take the second, we will then head into overtime attempt number 2. But if we take the white flag, this race becomes official, and it's all about who crosses the line next to become our victor. And no yellow will be thrown on that white flag. There will be no we could expect some maybe retaliation, maybe some bumping and rubbing with no yellows going to be thrown. But the field understanding this is going to be one of our last restarts of the night. And with the pace car lights off, we're going this time by Trevor. What are you telling yourself if you're one of the front runners that recognize, okay, I've used up all of my tires and now I've got nothing left to really work with?
I mean, I think you're just going to try to place your car where you think is best. I think the outside line is going to be where you want to be, but you've got to defend every line, especially if you're Christian Strader, Roland Collette up there. You've got to block. You've got to try to get in front and take the pushes that you can get to try to get in the front. Fully expect to see cars all the way across this racetrack, Sam, as we get ready to come back to the green.
Getting ready. This is our 1 and first overtime attempt of the evening. We have 2 if needed. The Challenger Racing League, race number 2 in Michigan. Will this be the last restart of the night? It's time to find out. As the pace cars into pit road, we enter the restart zone. We're green, Strouder, Collette. It's go time as Strouder already going to be having over a car-and-a-half length lead over second and third place. And we're going to be seeing James Catrone, his opportunity to fight for a win here tonight. Down into turn number 1. Here we go, Trevor. It's all Strouder for now.
Yeah, Catrone didn't have a great green flag pit stop. This caution brings him back into it, but the restart there, Sam, they weren't grouped up, and that allowed Strader to get away, but here he goes trying to snake break the draft, but Catrone has the draft help from the 10 of Collette, and they're going to close in on him through 3 and 4 and see if they can get a run on him down the front stretches, the 29 all the way down to the apron, Sam, as they work their way to turn number 4.
Middle of the field's getting a little bit more calamity, but up front, it looks pretty stout. It's all single file, and as they dock down to the apron, your white flag's in the air. This race is official. It's about who's going to cross the line and be your winner here in Michigan for race number 2. Will it be Strouder looking for redemption? Could it be Catrone, who's been the dominator, or Roland Collette, who's just been waiting in the wings? Here we go, Trevor, as they exit at 2.
And here comes Catrone, got the run. He's to the inside, the side draft down the back straightaway, pulls off the side of the 29. The 29 going to chase him down, same as they work their way into 3 and 4. Catrone going to slide up, try to slide up in front of the 29.
He's pushing him up. Roland's got the gap to the inside. The run for the 10. He's going to try to bounce it high for himself. James Catrone, though, defends. He gets side drafted behind. It's the 38. Wins Michigan. James Catrone asked for a caution, gifted with a caution, and the 38 wins here this evening.
I mean, Catrone played that move perfectly. Got to the door of the 29, pulled the side draft off perfectly, got off of the 29. Sam was able to keep his momentum up, pulled up in front of him. And what a move from James Catrone to get the win here tonight at Michigan, and more heartbreak for the 29 of Christian Strader as he comes home again with another podium finish. But I'm sure he's going to feel like there's a race that he could have won for the second week in a row.
Yeah, it has to be. And the frustration is going to mount up. You're not mad at the drivers around you where they finished. You're upset about that caution that took away a chance. But just like how one side's going to be upset about a moment, the other is praising it. James Catrone, green flag pit stops weren't the best, but the timing of the yellow, a chance at overtime, and the 38 gets to burn it down here tonight in victory. Congratulations to the 38 team as he's having his fun. We will step aside. When we come back, we're going to be talking to our top 3 of James Catrone, Roland Collette, and also Christian Strouder right after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show for the Challenger Racing League. Race number 2 is in the books, and what a special one it was. This one is going to be in the history books for one of the most chaotic finishes you could have asked for, being at Michigan for 100 laps. Went into overtime, and the driver that comes away with the win got graced by the caution, and he took full advantage of it. We've got James Catrone with us. James, what a run for yourself here tonight. You were fighting up front all night long. Know that pit stop didn't go as well as you wanted, but you got your chance in overtime. How are you feeling after your performance this evening?
Oh, surprised, I guess, is the best because Christian was fast. I knew if he was out front, he'd be tough, but I swear the only corner he ever overdrove happened to be on the last lap, and I can't believe I can't believe I got around him because he was tough all night, and I think whoever had the lead, it was in their hands, and luckily, like I said, one of his only mistakes all night happened on the last lap, and I had a chance.
I mean, James, we saw you have a little bit of a issue there on that final green flag pit stop that kind of took you out of that lead pack. But what were your thoughts as the laps were winding down, and what were your thoughts when that caution came out to give you a new life at this thing?
Well, yeah, I knew that was my only hope because I was looking at, I don't know, at least 3 or 4 seconds behind the lead anyway. After that, I actually overshot my pit stop, and it was one of those deals. I overshot it, and by the time I threw it in reverse, it barely moved an inch, and I was in a pitiable situation. So it was barely a issue. But once I knew I was that far behind, I tried. It was Justin Malarkey, I believe, that I was trying to draft with him and catch him, and for whatever reason, we weren't working well enough together that it wasn't going to happen. And once I knew that was the case, I did save a little tire because I knew, like, I'm not going to run these guys down 5 seconds in a fixed setup. That's just not going to happen with 10 to go. So I just kind of saved and hoped for the caution, and luckily it happened. So
I mean, an awesome run for yourself here tonight, James. After tonight, we head to Daytona, Darlington, Atlanta, Watkins Glen, and Bristol before the playoffs. What are your thoughts so far for the regular season, knowing that you've got this win and the rest of the races seem to be very much variety of what we're heading towards?
yeah, I mean, Daytona, I love to watch. 9 times out of 10, I don't like it actually competing in it because it usually ends up in a wreck. But I love the variety we're coming up to. I used to be terrible at road courses. I've learned to like them recently with help from a lot of guys in here, actually. So I don't know. I'm excited. There's a good group of tracks coming up for me. I didn't think this was one of them, but now I just don't have to worry at all and be load off my shoulders for sure.
Certainly was an amazing run. Congratulations on this win and punching your ticket to the playoffs. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any more shout outs.
Yeah, I want to thank Rusty, Andrew, Kevin, all the guys in this league that helped put it together kind of last minute. We had another league fall through, and appreciate all of them. And I'm looking forward to helping them make this bigger than what it is now. Want to thank Andrew Little, especially for bringing that last caution out. That was very helpful. Want to thank my wife for taking care of the boys and getting them to bed, and while I get to come in here and play this. And that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for broadcasting it. We're happy to have you.
Well, thanks for the show that we got to cover. That will be your race 2 winner here tonight in the 38 machine as James Catrone gets to enjoy this victory. James, enjoy this one and good luck next week at Daytona.
Thanks.
As we move from victory lane, we head down to second place to talk to the driver that kind of set up and helped our winner of the night. We got Roland Collette with us. Roland, overtime gave you a second chance for a better finish. How are you feeling after your performance? Because it looked like you could have sent it in there a little bit deeper into 3 and 4, but it was going to be close.
Yeah, it was tough. I burnt my tires on that last green flag pit stop, and I burnt my tires trying to run them guys down. And when that caution came out, they gave me an extra shot maybe to win it, and I knew I had a really fast car. thought it could win the race, and but I just couldn't get a good jump off the start there. That 29, he's fast, man. Uh, but going in that last corner, I backed it up a little bit more. Uh, I seen he was diving in there, and I thought they were going to tangle up there, and so I backed it up, see if I can get a run, but uh, managed to come home second, which is pretty good. So
I mean, Roland, great run tonight. I mean, overall, what was the experience in the car like? We saw some guys getting loose on the bottom, especially in turn 1 and 2, trying to get it all the way down there and hold the speed. But I mean, overall, what was your experience in the car like with the handling characteristics and the draft package around here?
they handled pretty well. Just coming off dirty air uh, got pretty much everybody here tonight. And, I didn't get very much loose here. Um, just I tried to just you have to have throttle control here in these cars, and it's very key to do that. And try not to burn your tires up and slide the tires and wear them out. And I just ran my line and tried to save as much as I could.
And you did a great job at coming away second place here tonight, Roland. We're heading to Daytona, Darlington, Atlanta, Watkins Glen, and Bristol to be our regular season. Are any of those racetracks kind of sticking out to you that might be a chance for you to get into victory lane?
Watkins Glen stands out. I'm a big fan of road course racing, and I think that's the only chance for me to possibly get a win. But you never know. Daytona might be a lucky track to get a win because you never know what's going to happen there. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of races, and we'll just have to see.
Well, we're excited to see how you're going to perform, Roland. Congratulations on second. And before we officially let you go, floor is now yours for any more shout outs.
I want to thank Jordan Stencil for the awesome paint schemes he makes, and I want to thank Rusty and Matt Hayden for letting me join this league. It's been fun so far, and I can't wait to keep racing.
Well, that will be your second place finisher here tonight in the 10 machine. It's Roland Collette going to be getting that second place finish. Roland, enjoy this one and good luck next week at Daytona.
All right, thank you.
As we move from second place, we go down to third. We get to talk to Christian Schrader. And Christian, you came away third. You entered that overtime in first, though. What are you feeling after a great performance overall here tonight, but in that overtime attempt and finishing third?
I definitely feel good about the race, but I definitely am a little bit disappointed in finishing third. I just got a little happy with the throttle in the middle of 1 and 2 on that last lap, and got a little tight and pushed. But other than that, third place, still a good race, still a good finish, and that race was a lot of fun there.
I mean, you've shown a lot of speed over the first two races at two completely different tracks, at Richmond, the short track, and here the 2-mile racetrack at Michigan. Christian, I'm sure that's got to feel good overall, knowing you've got the speed. Next week's Daytona, though, and kind of the wild card out there. How are you feeling about the chances at the Super Speedway?
For me, plate racing is definitely not my forte. I don't do too much of it. It's just not something I've ever really got a grasp of. But the big thing for me is just kind of keep the car clean and try to be around at the end. As long as you're around at the end, anything can kind of happen, and you can come away with at least a good finish.
Absolutely. Well, the regular season isn't very long, Christian. Are there any of the tracks that are pointing out to you, as we've got Daytona, Darlington, Atlanta, Watkins Glen, and Bristol being the rest of our regular season?
I cannot wait until we go to Darlington. I love those styles of tracks. Managing tires, a little bit odd shaped, and that's kind of where I enjoy. I enjoy finding different lines and kind of moving things around, and also running up by the wall. So I have Darlington definitely circled. Watkins Glen, I'm an okay road racer. I wouldn't say I'm like the greatest of road racers, but as long as you're kind of consistent, you can kind of consistently put down good laps, not make any mistakes, and that's kind of what I think falls into my wheelhouse.
Well, we cannot wait to see how you perform at those types of courses, Christian. Overall, though, a great run for yourself. We know a victory is right around the corner for yourself. But before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any more shout-outs.
Just a shout out to Rusty, Matt, Kevin, Andrew, everybody that puts this together, you guys, and then of course my teammates Hunter and TJ. TJ couldn't be here tonight, but big shout out to them. They always kind of help me find a little bit of speed, keep me a little calm during the races, because every once in a while, like racing like that, you get a little anxious, a little bit up on the wheel, a little sweaty.
Absolutely. But overall, Christian, a fantastic run. Enjoy this third place finish, and good luck next week with yourself and your team as you head to Daytona.
Appreciate it, Sam.
Well, that will be our interviews for tonight, as that was your top 3. We now get ready to take a look at our unofficial results for tonight's race. A shocking change up there late. I know the field was most likely expecting this race to stay green, but our incident between the 84 and the 68 that just changed everything in the closing stages of tonight sent us to overtime. Rashader thought this race was in grass, but instead it was going to go over to the 38 of James Catrone. Roland Collette will take second with helping the 38 get into victory lane. Schrouder will fall to third. Rusty Modesty also able to finish in fourth. Justin Malarkey fifth. Hunter Carlson, who had to go to the end of the line after being involved with the wreck, 32, moves up to sixth. Velocity in the 84 will finish 7th. 8th is Steve Potter. Jamie Nolan going to be finishing in 9th place. And finishing on our top 10 is the 94 of Terry Collette, which I mean, for Terry, that was where he ran for most of the night. And then we take a look at the rest of the field. Trevor, a crazy night, shook up things. But the back half of the field, they, I would imagine, are happy to move on to a new race next week.
Yeah, I think those guys back there happy to see this one in. When you look down there, you got the 68 of Andrew Little, the 2-tire strategy. Looked like it might work for him, and then that contact that he had with the 84 machine wasn't able to recover as well as John Velocity was. He's going to finish 13th. Then you got Kevin Zablagel down there in 19th. Sam, he looked strong early in the race, but had that contact with the 38 of Catrone under the stage brake that put him out of the race, so we weren't able to see what the 17 could do for us. But other guys kind of running where they were similar at Richmond toward the back half of the field, but we'll see. Maybe the super speedways can kind of they say they're the great equalizer, so we'll hopefully see those guys in the back half mixing it up front next week at Daytona.
Yeah, for some drivers, next week is going to be their chance to make the playoffs. It's going to be an important one. You do not want to miss it. And for us, some of the booth, we also have more racing action throughout the week. We also have tomorrow night, WSSR start of the playoffs. If you want your preview of what Super Speedway racing is like in the next gen car, well, do not miss out. Start of the playoffs is going to be it's going to be tomorrow night as the WSSR Cup Series heads to Talladega for their first round. Then also don't want to miss any more big track racing action, as for Thursday night, the drivers of the Doghouse Cup Series get ready for their first race of the season as they head to Indianapolis. It's going to be fun racing overall, but for tonight, I want to say thank you for joining with us. For myself, Sam Dyer, for Trevor Earhart, and for Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else from Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining with us on your Tuesday evening. Cannot wait for more racing action throughout the week. It's going to be a pleasure. But for the Challenger Racing League, next week they head to Daytona for the third race of the season. If you can't wait until then, don't worry. We've got 3 other series that are going to give you great action on Wednesday, Thursday, and Monday. But it's tomorrow night, the start of the playoffs. Who will have their way to start out in the right position to move on to the next round? Don't want to miss it, as the WSSR Cup Series heads to Talladega. Gonna be a fun one. Don't want to miss out. And that will be our next Freaky Fast broadcast.